I'm
one.
fine.
I swear. Okay, I think we're good now. All right. Hi, everybody. A little bit of a little scuff start, but who cares too much about that? Welcome back to the Blue Water Diamond League Saturday slate this week, and we've got an undefeated team stepping into the arena now as we get through week 3. It's Iridescent Dawn Hydra squad on my right side here, reflecting on the blue side. And then we have those Mystic Cats Bonfire playing across on the red side. Still early in the season, but still want to establish tempos. We're just trying to figure out who's the real top dog in this league.
Yeah, we're still early into the season, like you said. I did miss week 2. I had a holiday with my family, very very fun time, and so I appreciate
Well, we were
what
off. We were off. There's 2 casting pairs. We're
we were
bi-weekly,
off
so
anyway.
oh
All
yeah,
right, we were off anyway.
yeah,
All right, never mind. The point is, I did miss week 2. I wasn't able to watch it. This is what I was trying to say, Slayer,
yeah. Definitely
because
the way you're going with
I
that.
was at holiday with my family. And so I still am getting my feeling around the teams, and I think the teams are getting their feelings around each other as well, starting to figure out where other teams like to play and what they prioritize and what not. Is Kane being hovered is very interesting. The whole reason for that tangent was because there's a lot of very interesting bands. You don't normally see a Samira or a Rek'Sai or a Swain really banned out a ton. And so I think these teams are really starting to figure each other out as it is going to be a Kane. Wow, we're starting off heater.
Yeah, Kane is just a big time selection. I mean, it's fun to watch. There's a lot of ways you can play the Kane. I wouldn't have ever guessed a P1 Kane. That is a really aggressive stance there from ID Hydra. And this is a pretty powerful, I would say, response coming across from Mr. Cat's Black. You've got the Maokai, which I would argue is usually a B1 pick in the current meta. You'd expect, especially in the jungle role. And Seraphine kind of outlines, back in the day, a lot of flexibility there, Bonfire, but Seraphine usually means bot side this time around. No more real mid Seraphine in the meta anymore. I'm kind of a fan of the Pike cover, though. I got to say, Seraphine, one way to disrupt a Seraphine is Pike, and if you're going to go hard in the paint with this lethality kind of split, why not bring Pike alongside a potential blue Kane? It's aggressive, but I don't hate it.
I do hate
I
it.
saw
Now
that one coming.
I understand where they're coming from with the Pike. Very good early game, fantastic engage. I just think that the issue with Pike is that it's not very strong right now, and it really falls off of a cliff. And so it really puts the. I mean, ID Hydra have basically already set their game plan where they have to do something early, but they're also drafting an Ashe and a Kane, and so they better hope that their Pike. Everybody's on the same page. I will say, I am in agreement with you. It can disrupt the Seraphine, but I think this Ezreal pick would be fantastic, right? You don't have to worry about a Pike as much if you just don't really have to play into it. And that's why Ezreal is such a good counter pick into so many aggressive early bot lanes, because you can basically just negate the bot lane, take a little bit of a loss, maybe at 15, 20 CS difference, and get into the mid and late game and still be a huge issue. And so I think that this Ezreal is a really good counter pick to the Pike.
Yeah, well, it's safest AD carry out there, really, to be honest with you, right? It's not the safest AD carry because he has the ability to play back. For me, it's more you just have a lot more control, like as that solo AD carry. Like when you're playing back, you sometimes have to rely on supports for peeling. Those scaling champions like Jinx, yeah, they can play kind of safe in lane, but you don't have the tools to be safe like an Ezreal does. And well, Bonfire knows that I don't need to go on much of a tangent and spew about him, how I feel about Ezreal, my favorite character in League of Legends. But no AD carries really being banned away here in the second phase. A lot more targets going over towards those solo lanes as both our squads have very much likely drafted their jungle bottom duo composition. Some Olaf taken away, Tryndamere as well. Is Mystic Cat's Black really looking to target Vaulter's champion pool here?
Yeah, I
And
also think that ooh,
oh,
whoa,
my
probably
Seraphine
going to be a
logic is out the
Seraphine
window.
mid. Yeah, that's crazy. Well, now this Pike looks really really rough. Just because I do think that Thresh feels fine into Pike. But we can get off of Pike. It does feel like ID Hydra, those Olaf bans, the Tryndamere ban. ID Hydra just wants to go forward, right? With the Kane and a Pike, they want to be in your face. They want to blow up your backline. They want to hover Aurelion Soul, which would be a complete difference of everything else. They don't have a front line. I am blown away by my logic has just been blown out the window right now.
This could be saved. You got to
No,
Oh no.
stop it.
No,
Stop
no,
it.
no.
Stop
Okay.
it. Stop it.
Come on, come on, come on. That's also not good. Here's my logic. I'll say it
Oh,
before anything gets locked in.
Gragas.
If you go red Kane, and you have this Ace Soul, you got to pick a tank in the top lane. I know a lot of them got taken away, but there's still an Ornn up if they want it. Garen
Gragas.
is all right for Valter. Hey, there we
Okay,
go,
all right.
Valter.
Okay.
That's a
Okay.
beautiful pick. So I think it saves the comp. I do think Pyke is still a sore thumb now with the rest of this draft, like you talked about, Bonfire, especially if Kane is red Kane.
Yeah, I would almost just rather have a Nautilus here or a Rel. You know, I do think that you're right. Like it is a sore thumb. You have engaged, but you're not tanky enough to be able to take a lot of damage from, you know, far away. And then this Gwen counterpick is fantastic. I've spoken extensively in my casting career about how Gwen is just the easy slam whenever you're into an Ornn or a Gragas or a Scion or anything like that. I think out of all the top laners, just absolutely shreds tanks the best. And so Mystic Cats Black, even though they're 1-1, don't have the record to show. This draft is looking really, really strong across the board. Maokai Thresh for your front line, Ezreal Seraphine for your back line, Gwen to hop in and just do a ton of damage. I'm loving it. I'm really feeling like McDonald's because I'm loving it.
Nice, man. They're not even sponsoring us. Don't give them free promos.
True.
No.
That is true.
Yeah.
Feeling like redacted company because I'm loving it.
Redacted company. That's pretty funny, actually. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a very interesting game. I'm going to give some onus and I'm going to give some credit over, in my mind, over to Death Instinct there and support for ID Hydra, because they definitely have drafted a team that feels like it wants to scale and fight later in games. You have Ornn Augmentation, Aurelion Sol needs a lot of time. Ashe, pretty strong AD carry as well, likes to play for late, and a likely red Kane would want to play later in the game. But when you draft comps to play later, sometimes you need somebody that bridges the gaps across the weaker parts of your game. And Pyke is that. I'm usually more of a fan of, like, for example, if a late scaling comp, you know, you throw in a Zir or Zeri out there and you draft a Lee Sin. Like, Lee Sin has a bunch of CC. Sure, his damage falls off, but early game he's a menace, and he has the CC to back later. Pyke can kind of fill that role, but it is a lot trickier, like you were talking about, to do Bonfire. And there's just so many things to just negate Pyke's ability to dash around and be really, really sneaky. I mean, you've got Encore coming over top. Thresh is just a CC bot. Nature's Grass from this Maokai as well. Like, when fights come along, it's going to be really hard for this Pyke to really get any angles onto these priority carries.
Yeah, I think that, and that's the danger of drafting a Pyke this early, is the Seraphine gets flexed and suddenly it's not nearly as good in the bot lane. Also, I don't think it was ever really in threat of being banned out, and so you're picking it blind, kind of. It's not on paper a great pick. Now the thing is, I say on paper because Pyke is also a champion that if you're good enough on this champion, you can throw the playbook out the window. I mean, if you are a really good Pyke, you can make really anything happen. And so I do think that there are some champions like that where it's like, on paper, sure, you should lose lane, you should, you know, get countered and whatnot, but it's a really high skill expressive champ. Pyke is one of those champions. And so it switches from I have the advantage because of my champ to I might have the advantage because of who I am. And that's what it's going to have to come down to, because, you know, we've discussed this Pyke really going to struggle on paper into this Mystic Cats team.
Yeah, and I will say, though, no, actually the damage is there. I was going to say, I don't know why I took the Gwen out of the equation in my head for Mystic Cats Black. They don't have a lot of AD damage, though. So I think this Ornn could be very problematic to try and play into, because he is going to end up being very, very tanky to deal with, and you could see a lot of Maws maybe coming out for this Ashe. This Kane could really utilize a Maw Malmortius as well. His AP damage, you know, it has that burst ability, but the sustainability can always be an issue. And you always like scaling AD later in the game, in my mind, than AP. So that could become an issue. It's really hard. This is a litmus test, because we don't know too well how some of these players play with these champions. We obviously understand some of their champ pool. We understand that Iridescent Hydra is, in fact, sitting here at 2-0. But these are two kind of team fighty comps, and it's really just feeling like this thing's going to turn into a slugfest.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a war of attrition between these two squads. It's going to be last member standing is going to be the one who wins the fights. I don't think that we're going to have any clean fights. And it should be fun to watch. Those are always kind of a blast. I think also you got to keep an eye on the Kane. There's the mini game of when does Kane get form, and Slayer can attest. I played a Kane game yesterday with him, and as soon as I got form, started to really hyper scale. And then I fell off the side of a cliff because I'm a terrible Kane player. But we're gonna ignore that part of it.
Yeah, I
The
don't know if
point
we want
is,
to talk about those games.
yeah,
Oh no,
that's
that was
fair.
2 days ago.
The
Our
point
games are
is,
pretty rough.
yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, I played it. The point is, Kane is a very strong champion as soon as you hit form, and even if you are behind a little bit, that form can get you back into the game. So we're gonna have to keep an eye on this Kane's form. We're gonna have to keep an eye on Aurelian's Soul, building those stacks up for the really big Starfall. And we're gonna have to keep an eye on this Gwen as well, because once a couple of items hit, it really does feel like, even with the nerfs that she's received in the last couple of months, still, once you get a couple of items on Gwen, unkillable, near unkillable.
Gwen is immune is a meme for a reason, and both these squads have certainly gone for some pretty big inflection points. Hats off to the coaching staff behind both of these squads for very a decently unique draft with some meta conformity as well. And speaking of coaching, Blue Otter League, especially the Diamond League, is partly brought to you by Coachify.gg. So big shout out to them. It's a coaching platform where you can get started zero, you don't have to pay anything to get started. You can start coaching, building up your player base, helping directly your players get better, and trying to make a career out of coaching. Coachify GG is a big part of that, and just kind of a new corner to the esports world and the League of Legends esports world. So big shout out to them, being able to sponsor the Blue Otter League. They're part of multiple amateur leagues sponsoring them. So really, if you're part of NA amateur, NA developmental, got to give a big shout out to Coachify.gg. But that's enough talking about the draft bonfire. Players are loading in to good old Summoner's Rift here. So let's get the banter out of the way and bring the banter to the battle arena. What shall we? See you guys after the break. We'll go game 1, ID Hydra versus Mystic Cats Black.
to Summoner's Rift. "30 seconds until minions spawn." Minions have spawned.
I think a lot of these players have matured since they put their names in the rosters, or we have a lot of subs because everyone's kind of got some normal names, which is it's lovely to see. Sometimes you cast amateur league, and some people have some wild names, but everybody's playing by the rules and being adults here, which is fantastic. It is going to be both junglers starting in the top side. Kind of interesting enough, though. You don't normally see Maokai with this kind of pathing starting on the Raptors and then moving over, I'd imagine, to the red buff. Although with the positioning, yeah, okay, was looking like they might move to the blue, but Scary is going to move to the red buff and continue upwards.
This will slow down his clear, but he wants his lanes to have some sort of advantage here. And oh, here we go. Sutketh going in for a bit of an invade here. It is spotted out. This is kind of scary for, no pun intended, scary. Kayn level 2. The smite does come across for Sutketh, so he is able to pick up that buff. And he's going to have to flash over the wall, though. His illusion is now chasing him down. Kayn can be pretty pesky to chase. Without any flash and Ghost already down, Illusion won't be able to follow forward, but they somehow are able to turn on a hotline there, who has to flash over the wall as well. So, you do lose over that red buff if you're Scary, but you take that training day of the week with 2 flashes down.
Yeah, 2 flashes for a red buff, just not really worth it. I think, when you go Kayn, you like to invade. The best junglers in the world can make it work, can find little avenues, little pockets, and go for a potential invade. And right there, I just don't think Suki was, or Sucketh, or we're going to have to figure out how the hell we're going to say their name. I think it's Sutek. So I'm going to roll with that.
Oh, that's
Sutek.
a great call. Sutek.
Yeah.
Wow, look at you having a good take.
I know, I'm impressed with myself. I think that Sutek wasn't expecting the Maokai, because I was just talking about how that's a weird path for the Maokai. Start Raptors, go straight to red, and so maybe just caught off guard a little bit.
Yeah, but he's still, and he does pay the price. He does at least get somewhat of a CS lead going on here. I do want to point out, bot side, I was curious, Cornstar going for the press the attack, Ezreal runes. Bonfire Duo, I was going to talk about this, right? Press the attack, so he's going for more single target damage here. He does have the exhaust, so it's super aggro Ezreal, but he does go for the cold start. So does Epic Fail Guy. So it kind of allures to the fact that despite we have a bunch of hook champions bot side could be pretty quiet. It especially helps the Death Instinct is roaming around with Sutek, and they're really trying to punish Scary. He still has his flash up, though. There's no real follow-up damage. Fresh now roaming over as well. Gets a bit of a slow, but he is out of mana, so nothing much more to get there.
Yeah, they go for another invade, and another failed invade. They didn't really lose out too much on that. And Scary, kind of not a fun jungling game if you're this Maokai, just always having to wonder where anybody else is. Illusion playing with fire right there. Bellows Breath going to drop Illusion down to maybe 1/6 health. And yeah, that's the Orin game that you talked about early on. I think people just kind of disrespect the damage that the Orin can do. As hold on, I might have something following.
Beautiful stun, Death Instinct. That is a very dead Cusco's poison. That is a ton of early damage, and Sutek, who's going the Conqueror, gets a bunch of damage down onto a. Wait, I always forget this. Is Thresh ranged? Yeah, he's ranged, right? He counts as.
I believe so. I believe Thresh is ranged because of how far the hook actually goes. So these are ranged. It is a ranged Thresh.
Okay, yeah. So those aren't the stacks he wants, but getting first blood on Thresh, or not Thresh, Kayn, always great. And he's going for a regank here. Sutek, beautiful flash to get the stun. Cornstar immediately exhausted on top of the Flash Lantern. Valiant from Cusco's poison, not in time.
Yeah, a little aggressive right there from Cornstar. Just doesn't have the support alongside them. Saw the Kayn there recently. pushing up behind a stacked wave, but it's a beautiful play from Death Instinct right there. And that's what we were talking about in draft. Even if it's not potentially favored for you, I feel like Pike is such a skill expressive champion that you can still make it work if you're good enough on the champ. And so very, very good to see that Death Instinct does have the ability. And I think it bodes well for the rest of the game, because if you have a Pike who maybe isn't used to the mechanics or isn't as good on the flash plays, it can really fall behind. And so it's impressive to see. It's also good just on the kills department and the gold department, up already over 1,000 for the team.
Yeah, we talked about how weird this Pike could end up becoming as this game goes on, but really effective early game champion. So if Death Instinct can set up his teammates for a bunch of success into the scaling, how much does it really matter if the Pike becomes a little less important, especially when you have that Ashe, Aurelion Sol, a Red Cane, or Animization? Yeah, I can see the picture more. It especially helps Bonfire that they're very much in the lead through 6 minutes.
Yeah, they've had a good vision as well. It's helped out for Sutek, just moving around the map, trying to find invades where they can. And you can tell this Maokai just doesn't feel comfortable. Always just kind of walking around with the chip on their shoulder, with the fear of God on their side. And right now, that fear has to be in the top lane, as Illusion is the potential target.
All right, Gwen is immune. Can't do much against Call of the Forge God. Sutek showing up. The needlework not doing a ton of healing. Now Illusion does get some damage down to Valter, and he's just running for the hills here. And what a respect call from Sutek and ID Hydra not to follow the Gwen there. That felt like a surefire kill on the top side, but nothing comes of it.
Yeah, Slayer, I think it just comes down to the Ghost right there. The Gwen able to get that last needle off with the slow, and then the Ghost got themselves away. And so very, very good. Illusion keeps themselves alive, and I gotta say, I've been impressed with this Kayn so far. Sutek has just been on the map a lot, and I was talking about earlier how Kayn wants to scale and this Pike wants to get stuff done early, but I think people always forget that Kayn, even though is a scaling champion, still very, very strong early on, and has really pushed the advantage. You know, it recognizes the Maokai is going to be a lot stronger in fighting, sure, but right now, this Kayn is just going to dominate in the one-on-ones as Cornstar, playing a champion that allows him to get out a little bit easier, and so feels pretty safe. But again, going back to the Sutek point, dealing camps away, constantly invading, going for a ton of ganks. It's impressive stuff on the early game.
Yeah, it certainly is, and we can't necessarily track totally how he's doing on the farm department, but the fact that he did get a pretty good gank onto Illusion, that melee Gwen, excuse me, who is now just chopping it up on a Valter, it bodes well, right, for Red Kayn. You can still go Blue Kayn if you'd like with that Conqueror. I've seen it before, but that Iron Spike Whip is basically locking in a Gore Drinker. They do have the tier, which is making me double think it's still a blue with the Red Kayn build. There's just so many wacky ways to build Kayn, but I feel like Red just makes too much sense with how the game state's going to flow out.
Yeah, I think Red Kayn would probably be best in this game, just with the way that the compositions are lining up. And you said it's going to be a Gore Drinker. I think you would believe it is, but I've also seen Stride Breaker on Kayn, just because if there's a heavy kiting AD carry or mid laner, you want to be able to track them down. Although this game, I do think Gore Drinker is probably best. Whenever you're going to a Kayn and a Thresh, Maokai, probably want that healing to keep you feeling safe. And so we'll have to see as this game progresses, but it'll be interesting to look at the build paths. Kayn, one of those champions that has a lot of different avenues that they can go. Some champions, you really have to go one item or 2 items into every single game. Kayn, I feel like, has a little bit more expression with their items, as it is going to be the squad of Mystic Cats trading out this Rift Herald, but they are going to get the first dragon of the game.
So we're really starting to feel a bit of a gap so far in the jungle. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Sutek has been really good after those early invades. Does have a pretty sizable gold lead. I mean, it's up to 2,000, and he's 900 of that in his gold matchup. Just take a look at those gold graphs, but really good recognizing that you could go for that split play, right? First Rift Herald is about as good, if not arguably better, depending on how you use it, then securing that first Drake. And the way he's been setting up for these ganks, I feel like it's only a matter of time before he gets a really good usage out of that Rift Herald. That's even more gold in the pocket of his squad.
Yeah, I will say, as the needlework hopped a little bit early there potentially, I will say I don't mind the first dragon take instead of the Rift Herald. I think if you are this Mystic Cat squad. You want to group them up into a fight. Let your Gwen side lane. There's not really a good side lane catch here for this iridescent squad. As Sutek. Oh no,
Oh no, he tries
might
to
it be
hide the
caught here?
walls. Yeah, does flash the hook though. Cornstar can't get out any more damage, and that good volley from Epic Fail Guy will make sure that nothing more comes. The Juice Shot Barrage made it close. The Zutek certainly starting to min-max some of his pathing here as the game goes on, but doesn't pay for it just yet.
Yeah, good recognition and the team to help out. I think something that we're also kind of not talking enough about is how impressive this Ornn has been, as Death Instinct should just be able to get himself out. Maybe actually look for something else, is just kind of swimming around. I think we need to talk a little bit more about Valter on this Ornn, because up CS against a Gwen is not easy at all to do. And it's just done a fantastic job of absorbing pressure and being able to farm under tower. So it's been impressive so far.
There's a good hook from Death Instinct. Ignite immediately comes out. That's too squishy of a pike. It turns the fight here. Epic Fail Guy does cleanse the exhaust and the volleys, the arrows. There's just too much damage for Cornstar. Epic Fail Guy going up against his name to pick up a double.
Yeah, beautiful play right there from Epic Fail Guy. That's just a stats check right there from the bot lane, recognizing, yeah, we're stronger than you right now. And even though Death Instinct falls early to, honestly, a very nice play by Cornstar, it just did not matter. Beautifully played. And right now you have to be worried about this Ashe as well. There's so many members that are really troublesome for Mystic Cats to deal with. Gonna have to be this Kayn, this Ashe, this Aurelion Sol is just gonna be scaling, and starting to get into difficult territory. This would be a huge pick to get.
Good flash on the encore there. Epic Fail Guy really started to show off the kites. Does get flayed back. Good body block, though, comes across from Sutek. Fresh does pick up the kill. Sutek looking to go for a trade. Gets the Conqueror proc. There's the Humble Trespass, but a really good stopwatch from that. Cusco's Poison Thresh. Make sure he won't fall. The teleports galore coming out. Illusions there. Spurs to pick up the kill. Trying to trade it back out onto Valter. There's the Fallen Star into the call of the Forge God. Gwen is immune. Moment stays upright, and there's no trade to be had.
Yeah, that's really, really huge for the Mystic Cats. Gwen is immune, keeping him alive right there. Death Instinct. Woof, dangerous, dangerous work right there, but a positive trade for the first time in what feels like a while. Scary also dealing out what he was dished a little bit earlier and back up to even in the CS department. And so impressive work from the Mystic Cats when things felt a little dire, a little dicey. Get themselves back up into a comfortable position. Yes, they are still down, but those are important kills to get. And now that gold lead that was starting to balloon out of control, kind of been brought back. Still a 2,000 gold lead, but Epic Guy has to be careful here, and I don't think he's going to see this coming.
There's the CC combo Maokai's known so well for. An illusion now set up to get another second big kill. If he can get past the slows, and he will. That's now a 2-0 Gwen. And they have a big win angle if you are Mystic Cats Black.
Yeah, right now it feels like Iridescent Dawn just constantly unsure of where they want to be. Scary dodges out on that one. A good flash, though.
Gets the stun across. Sutek trying to get the damage over, but Scary has to flash. That's some easy, easy form pickup, though, for Sutek, who gotta be thinking is nearing that likely darkened form. Only have to see in a matter of a back here. That's a big stat check. You were talking about in the Champ Select Bonfire how big of a move that is for the game state.
Yeah, and it really feels like that's when Sutek becomes unleashed. Has been strong early on this Kayn, but once you get form, you can start to do some pretty absurd things and take some crazy angles. And so I'm excited to see how Sutek approaches that. Right now, going for invades in the face of Fresh and Scary. This actually might have been a bit of a mistake and is going to get rooted up. I mean, this is... He dodges the charm, but how do you get out here?
Yeah, the rest of the Mystic Cats are there in tote. Good move over there from Scary and Suko's Poison. Death Instinct, though, interestingly starting up this Chemtech Drake. They're on a ward here. Aurelion Sol, that space, I don't know what you want to call it, space breath, space vomit. God, that damage is stupid and does make sure that the Drake is picked up. So ID Hydra even up in the Drake count despite losing their jungler topside.
Yeah, and it's a good trade, right? It's important that they get that. If they don't, things get a little bit dicey. 2 dragons to none and the gold being even back up. So they keep this game at what was once an arm's length, now maybe just a 4 fingers length, but they still keep it close as, ooh, trade right here. Illusion could be in danger if this
The
hits.
Forge God baited breath, smackdown, the hammer falls, and it's a shutdown for Valter. That is huge for ID Hydra.
Alter, great recognition of that Ornn damage, and once the knockup hits, all it takes is 2 hammers to the face when being brought back to the tailor shop. This one is out of repair, he says. Beautifully played right there, able to get a solo bolo in the top side. But the gold doesn't swing too far in either direction. Is 2,000 starting to get a bit out of control, and over the last couple of minutes, the Mystic Cats evened it back up. You also have to look at the champions. Aurelion Sol going to scale really well. Pyke not going to scale very well at all. And so, even though Mystic Cats probably feel good about this Pyke pick, you have to be worried about this Aurelion Sol. 0-0 and 0, but the most CS in the game. Definitely a scary prospect as we get into the mid game.
And now has the first iteration of Sky's Descent, that very, very game-breaking at points ultimate from Aurelion Sol. You see how that one is utilized as the game goes on here, but we are cresting on towards that mid-game point. You can tell by the bottom lanes both being here. That's a beautiful arrow to stun up Cornstar, but he's able to dash away. There's Sky's Descent. They've now picked their new target. Cusco's poisoned, and he drops in front of all of ID Hydra. A valiant sacrifice, but another great pick from this ID Hydra comp.
Yeah, it's a good pick. I will say it's going to take a while to get that Sky's Descent back up, and so if I'm Mystic Cats right now, I'm waiting for my Thresh to respawn, and I'm taking any fight I can. There's no flash on Death Instinct, no ultimate on this Aurelion Sol, and you still have so many high-impact ultimates. You still have the Nature's Calling, you still have Illusion with the Needlework. Could look for something here.
Trying to jump onto that squishy Pyke, but he limps away. Good double knockup from Valter, trying to play Distractor in that front line. Cornstar getting a lot of damage down, but it's Illusion that's in the back line. Picks off Death Instinct, but that's all he can get. Epic Fail Guy could flash away to get away from Cornstar. Valter now stunned up with the Encore, but they just can't get to the priority targets, and the front line is way too tanky to shred. Valter finds Scary a good death sentence, though. Will get one back for Cornstar, but it's a big fight for ID Hydra once more.
Yeah, it's a massive fight, Slayer, right there. This game felt like just a little bit ago was looking out of reach at points, but they have brought it back full circle. That entire fight as well, without Flesh. Really, near the end, started to get back into it, but for a while, Flesh was out of it. And so you'd have to imagine a big ultimate right there from the Seraphine could provide to be a much easier fight win. If you're Iridescent Dawn, things looked so good. Even though that was an even fight right there, it really felt like they were just getting the kills on the tip of their tongues. And so, right now, this Mystic Cats squad starting to show some confidence. Starting to show that they have something to say about this game. This one is not over by any means.
I do want to point out, we talked about the fact that this Mystic Cats Black roster, that the champions they've drafted are just, it's really AP reliant. You drafted Gwen and Seraphine in solo lanes. You were saying, we are laning on ability power. I love this move from Valter. We'll get more credit over to him. This Ornn 2-on-1 in a tough lane already. But the first item, Force of Nature, doesn't make a lot of sense in 95% of matchups. I love it up against this squad from Mystic Cats Black.
And it's just going to have so much impact as well, right? You really need this Ezreal to become a huge member of the team to be able to take down this Ornn. And even so, Ezreal's not really that kind of champion. Does do AD damage, don't get me wrong, but it's in burst, it's in poke. Feels like Valter is going to be a huge issue to have to deal with. These Call of the Forge Gods have also been massive from the top laner of Iridescent Dawn, and so we'll have to see if there can be even more. We looked towards the top lane, and yeah, you saw that correctly. Sutek has form at this point, and so keep an eye on this Kayn. Had a really great start to the game, falling behind a little bit, but the stats coming online, the knockups, as the Gore Drinker as well, this Kayn is going to start to become a big issue as well.
Yeah, it doesn't look like anybody on Mystic Cats Black want to pay heal cut tax. It makes sense. Sutek's really the only one that gets some really solid healing in those fights, but still gives him a big advantage as both these teams starting to set up for this Drake pit. Drake count is even at 1 apiece. Keep in mind, teleport for Illusion is up if a fight breaks out. He's in the top side. Cusco's poison. Does get pulled in by that gravity from Aurelion. So big arrow backline. Immediate Nature's grasp the response. Sutek trying to jump down onto Fresh. Big encore, pulls back the Pike. Aurelian Soul now free, hitting only Scary in his face. Illusion trying to find some sort of angle to get onto this backline. Epic fail guy will fail to find anything in the fight. Illusion pops him. And look at Cornstar. He's free hitting. Good arcane shift back, but Sutek is full health and leading the charge for ID Hydra. Aurelian Soul pushing forward. That Breath of Light just does so much, and it pops Illusion. ID Hydra's front line gets it done in front of the Drake pit.
They do not like to be counted out. Slayer, they get punched in the nose and counter back with a kick to the ribs. Beautifully played right there. Just a slow fight, a drawn out fight, and that's always going to favor them. Sutek getting onto the back line, making sure Flesh isn't able to do anything. And the entire time, the hotline, they are who you need to call when you need damage. This Aurelian Soul just breathes on you like it's 8 a.m. and you just had a cup of coffee. That breath is not something you want to be smelling. Beautifully played from the entire squad, and the damage is definitely here now. Cusco's poison chasing ghosts, nothing to be found.
He's just cruising out. That ability is so derpy looking, I swear. I'm just gonna glide.
It's low rider.
Just a low rider. Just casually, like, you know, I feel like every time you get an Aurelian Soul in the game, you gotta talk about, like, lore-wise, who's, like, the most powerful champion on the Rift. I mean, we do have, like, literal gods. Like, Ornn is the Forge God, like an elemental Forge God, but Aurelian Soul is quite literally a space dragon that, like, eats galaxies and black holes.
Yeah, it would have to be probably the Aurelian Soul.
Like, that's a black
big.
hole. That's one of his abilities is a black. He just drops black holes.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Meanwhile, in Summoner's Rift, he's about the same size as Ezreal. Make it make sense.
Yeah, right.
Man.
Just a common Indiana Jones thief versus the space dragon with black holes.
Who would win? As I don't think Flesh is going to be winning this one.
Ooh, good double encore though, but Valter's just gonna go straight for the turret. Real heads up play. Here comes Scary though over top, but look how much healing Valter gets. Will finally burn. Oh, maybe I was wrong there. The true shot barrage from distance will bring a big shutdown over to Cornstar's pockets. And that dive going pretty even with that extra gold into the 80 carry for Mystic Black.
Yeah, that healing was crazy on the Ornn. That is awful. I don't even know where they got that healing from, if I'm being honest. Like, racking my brain for what abilities heal. I mean, maybe
Radiant
a Grasp
Virtue?
proc?
He gets Radiant Virtue.
But they didn't call Ornn it didn't call the Forge God. I don't know. Crazy as yeah. A pause. Maybe everyone's scratching their heads. Maybe somebody is DC'd. We won't know. But kind of crazy. Gives us more time to think about it as pause over and Cusco's.
The arrow does whiff, but Cusco's, yeah, under a lot of pressure, and Aurelian Soul's damage is just stupid by this point. Hotline, casually, the slowest drive-by you'll ever see, able to pick up that kill. There's the pause. Yeah, the pause break we get. Right, thank you very much for this bug that's been a part of the league, league clients since I started casting. And that's coming up on 2 years for both of us.
Yeah, first time we casted was, God, October of 2020?
October, November, or something like that, yeah. Anyways, though, enough reminiscing from the old heads. Sutek, the young gun, in the invade. Looking to be a bit pesky. He's just up in the face of Scary. He's got a 2-level advantage on this guy, but can he 1v4? That's a pretty big double knockout. Here comes Sky's Descend, though, and look at the damage the Space Dragon brings. Illusion pushes back out that needlework, but there's just really no damage there. And Cornstar is forced back. Look at the power that Sutek's Kayn is demanding by this point in the game.
Yeah, and it just feels like Mystic Cats just don't have enough damage right now. This is the issue with that mid lane Seraphine, like you talked about. Really strong with the ultimate, good damage for poke, but as your #1 mid laner, it just doesn't feel like it does enough.
Look at that. That's an arcane shift and a flash forward, but Epic Fail guy is so well protected. Good sidestep on the arrow from Cornstar, but that was a failed Mystic Cats Black play.
Yeah, it feels like they're starting to get desperate at this point, recognizing that ID Hydra, just like the real Hydra in Marvel Comics, has shooters everywhere. And there is just nothing that they can do. Everybody's well protected. Even Captain America is a part of them. Just too difficult to go in. That is a huge ultimate right now, but good poke. Hold on, they might have something here.
Nothing to follow up that Encore, though. The Baron is secure now in Fresh. He doesn't have Encore anymore. There's a ton of damage coming over top. Look at Sutek chop up the Mystic Black Cats roster. A ton of damage, and they're rolling forward towards the base.
Yeah, this game has just started to snowball way out of control. They're pausing it. They need time to think about where everything went wrong. Mystic Cats Black, some bad luck on their team. Also, some bad plays, some unfortunate timings, and blink and you miss it, down 7,000 at this point. Felt like they had gotten their way back into it, but the unknown quantity that both of us chatted about hotline was just scaling really, really well. Sutek hit form, went from 1-3 to 5-3, 0-0-0 on this Aurelion Sol to 6-0-3, and like I said, in a blink of an eye, ID Hydra back in the driver's seat.
And those are the two, like, I don't want to call them weird picks, but, you know, not seen too much in this level of play, in like, competitive play. Maybe solo queues are a lot different of a story, especially when it comes to Kayn players. But you don't expect Sutek to really command that much. And you can see now, we're unfortunately going back to the draft screen here as we have a pause going here. But right over here, Sutek's Kayn. Going B1 for Kayn is so ballsy. And it's really working out, and that gives a lot of credit over to this Iridescent Dawn Hydra squad.
Yeah, this Kayn is absolutely doing work, and it really is it's the red Kayn, and that's where the strength comes from. I think that a lot of times you think of Kayn as being able to push out so much damage, and you think of the assassin Kayn, but kind of the underrated Kayn that has seen its most time in competitive play in the little bit that it has seen is the red Kayn, and it's just being a nuisance, always queuing in, getting the knockups, being in the back line, and just kind of sticking around like gum on the bottom of your shoe. You just can't get rid of it. And that's exactly what Sutek is doing. It's very Canyon-esque. If you remember back in Worlds last year, had that huge triple knockup. Felt like, Sutek isn't exactly Canyon level, but is still playing very similar. And it's just so difficult to go into.
Yeah, it's interesting as we're back at this draft screen because you could look, I mean, if you look over at the bans here from Mystic Cats Black, there's one jungle ban, and I would argue J4 is just kind of a blanket ban. That's not a target ban towards any jungler you're matching up against. J4 is just really strong right now. And the way this is going, I feel like Sutek's going to get forced off this Kayn. Aurelion Sol playing really well, but he's really just benefiting from the chaos that Sutek and this Ornn are creating on the front line. And Aurelion Sol can be really bad into a lot of different picks. Regardless, though, you can see exactly why this ID Hydra roster are 2-0 right now and trucking right along. They've only lost one actual game. They're 4-1 in game score. They're trucking right along, looking to establish themselves as a top dog.
Yeah, early in the season, I feel like you need to make your stamp on the league. You need to have your I'm here moment. ID Hydra has started to do that, starting to show that maybe they're the team that teams need to be worried about. This team, at least so far through the first game, have really impressed. Even with some off-meta, kind of strange picks, they're still getting stuff done, getting work done. Another day at the office, but Mystic Cats not out of this one yet, and we've seen some really great stuff from them as well. Is Gwen still a huge issue to have to deal with? And I'd like to see what a huge Seraphine ult alongside a big Nature's Grasp can do as well. An Encore with the Nature's Calling, sure to disrupt some members of ID Hydra. And so I wouldn't call this one for ID Hydra yet, but as of now, it does look like they are not only in the driver's seat, they have put down their first lease on the car. They are very much doing all right.
They've got the keys and they're in the dealer's office. They're in the manager's office. He's
Yeah,
got to hand him the keys.
exactly.
Right? I do take issue. This is why Seraphine mid isn't a thing anymore, right? You don't have enough damage anymore to really justify this full AP build, and it's really tough to put her in a spot to succeed with it. You don't have like early lane pressure. You're kind of sacking a lane. By picking this Seraphine, you're kind of daring a team to outscale you. As we get back to action, we just look at the mid lane matchup. That's exactly what happened. What a farm gap for Hotline and just general gap.
Yeah, it really feels like that's where it's kind of been. It's a big hook, but nothing gonna come beside it. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like there's just been too many issues. It's funny as well. You look at this Kayn. I think people in the chat and maybe the teams are gonna say, hey, this Kane actually did do well. 0-4. So maybe the Kane, or not the Kane, sorry, the Pike. Maybe the Pike wasn't the reason that this game was going so well. It really is. It feels like Sutek and this Ornn are making a lot happen, and everyone else is just benefiting from it. But I'd like to see a pop-off play. I'm willing to be wrong, as we are going to have, I think, our first 5v5 in quite a while over this Dragon, as it would be Mountain, or it would be Soul for ID Hydra if it was to be given over.
Soul Point would be for ID Hydra.
Soul Point.
Yeah, Soul Point would still be big. They're hook on the Sutek, but this guy lives and breathes in the company of 5. There's the Encore, hits 3, but where's the damage once more? Illusion trying to use it to go forward, but can't get onto those carries. Sutek, very low, has to go for the upward trespass, but look at the stupid healing he comes out with. The Fallen Star lands, they get the shutdown onto Hotline, but they don't have any more resources to deal with this Kane, to deal with Vaulted Ornn. Hold on a minute. Quadra kill on the Ornn. He's flashing. Go get your Penta, kid. You don't see Ornn pentakills very often. They're gonna chase for it. Cord Star, though. Oh, he does get hooked back. There's the exhaust. No way. Give it to Vulter. No! Ban him. Ban this Pike right now. Ban him.
I am so... Oh my goodness gracious. I'm so angry right now. I'm so angry. Everybody in the chat.
Yeah, that's exactly. Vulter, go get a new team. Go get a new team. Oh, wait.
Oh my goodness gracious. I don't think I've ever been more angry casting a game. I was so excited to watch an Ornn pentakill. Are you kidding me? Oh.
But listen,
listen. My goodness.
But everybody gets gold if Death Instinct kills him,
no,
right?
No, yes, but no, I don't care.
No, you're right.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That's unbelievable. All right, well they got the team fight win. They got the ace. The ID Hydra, I think at this point, I mean, that was a great fight as well from Mystic Cats. It felt like they got so much CC. They got the free hit from so many of their members, and it just didn't even matter a little bit. And so it really makes you wonder if this game is going to matter at all. So it does feel like Mystic Cats are probably on their way out the door for game 1. ID Hydra just have to cross their T's, dot their I's, sign off, and they'll be on to game 2. But yeah, and ouch, that one really hurts.
You don't see Ornn pentakills ever, really, it feels like. So yeah, that one certainly stinging a bit. I will say, Mystic Cats Black, they do still have their base somewhat intact. They have an open inhib, but they haven't lost a ton of the base just yet. So they're not completely out of it, but that arrow onto Cord Star lining up the knockup. They do have a good stun chain on to Sutketh, but Epic Fail Guy just is rolling in damage right now. You've got Hotline jumping forward. The hot hand, Illusion trying to jump back on against something, but that's a golden space dragon. All the kills falling for ID Hydra. And just as I thought there was an opening for Mystic Cats Black, ID Hydra are going to slam that door shut so hard it falls off the hinges.
Yeah, they're slamming the door on their toes as well, on the Mystic Cat's toes. I mean, this is just a personal win right now at this point. It's hard to win the game when you cannot do any damage to Sutek, and any damage you do just gets healed back up. This Kane is a massive problem to have to deal with, and if you're focusing on the Kane, there's too many members you are not focusing on. Scary does end up falling. Nexus turret's falling as well. True Shot Barrage gonna drop Hotline down a little bit, but
yeah,
it just doesn't really matter, does it? They're going to have to back away. They're going to have to come back another time, but leftovers in the fridge, they are definitely still good when they come back.
There is a sliver of hope, though. Mystic Cats Black is going to have to come down to maybe stealing this Baron. I'm assuming Iridescent Dawn, Hydra are going to stack up to try and just wait out for this Baron to come across. It's about 45 seconds away, but the items, man, they're just coming through. Look at those Ornn augmentations, by the way, as well. All 3 big carries have upgraded mythics. It's just so tough because that makes the gold lead even more bigger than the stats are showing.
Slayer, this entire time, by the way, Falter is in chat. Just talking about being mad about not getting the Penta on Ornn. That's it's very funny.
That probably tells us
also,
that the game. That probably tells us the game is about to end, considering we're on spec delay.
I wasn't gonna say it.
Well, I mean, I guess
Yeah.
this is likely the final fight. Play Bonfire for the spoilers. There is Valter himself getting the call to Forge God knockup, and oh my god! That's a gross guy's descent from Hotline. There is no front line left for Mystic Cats Black. Valter is the only thing that stands as the Iron Throne the front line. Death Instinct will fall, but he's been dying all game long, and it's meant absolutely nothing to the whole game state. There's a good death sentence, though. Cusco's poison. Zanya's such a big play. Dodge is out of the true shot. Mirage Hotline does. The turret is melting. There is nowhere for these Mystic Cats members to go, and they're just going to watch their Nexus, their base, and their Game 1 hopes crumble.
Yeah, beautifully played right there from ID Hydra. Even when they came back on a little bit, still found a way to win, and that's what good teams do. And so they find themselves Game 1 win. They move ahead, and once it was past the 16, 17-minute mark, it really felt like a dominant win from them. I gotta say, if we're talking about statistics and how that game went, the Pike had 1 kill, 1 in 6, and the 1 kill that they got was to deny the Ornn Penta. So ban that Pike pick for eternity, forever. I hated it.
You know, at the end of the day, though, W on the board, right? So it definitely kind of sucks. You know, you got a little bit of a taste in your mouth for Valter. I don't know if he's ever had an Ornn pentakill, but overall, we look at the grand scheme of the game. Just complete domination. This is through one game. If we're using BO1 sample size, this feels like a deep playoff seeded team versus a team that might not even make the dance.
Yeah, it really feels like that right now. But sometimes the teams that don't make the dance are the most dangerous in the regular season. So I would not count out the Mystic Cats Black yet. These cats can cook. Believe that. They are 1-1 for a reason. Have their 1 win. So it's a potential for something right now as we look at the statistics. And yeah, that's some pretty insane damage. Volter's Ornn did more than a lot of members. And at the end of the day, Sutek was massive. 20 assists on Kane is crazy. I mean, that is an insane stat line. Ash had 19 assists as well. I mean, it's just unbelievable team play right there. And Pike, again, I don't want to keep going back to it. 7 assists on the Pike. What are we doing?
It also had 4K damage. For reference, you guys can see it at home, but Cusco's poison has
Thresh
nearly
at
double.
8K.
Yeah, the Thresh is at 8K. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if it probably create a lot more. I know there's a CC stat metric that probably would help out Death Instinct's Pike pick a little bit more than we're giving his credit to, but maybe got away with a support pick there nonetheless. Regardless, though, we can look at game 1 all we want, but we're here for best of 3s, folks. So hope you're strapped in for a bit of a long con because it doesn't end here. We're going to go to a quick break. On the other side, game 2 draft to see if Mystic Cats Black is cooking up something besides else. back in action here. Blue Otter Diamond League. We got the Cats on the blue side. We've got Iridescent High. Do we know for sure if it's an Iridescent team, by the way? ID Hydra.
You've just been, I was just taking your word for it.
I don't know.
Alright.
Do I look trustworthy?
I guess no. You do kind of look like you'd like try to No, come back. I'm
There's not enough
joking.
space for me to walk off this way. There's a desk here. So I can't even do that. Regardless,
You gotta go down. You gotta like go to the floor.
he's just what is like the
The elevator. Oh, he's going down on the edge.
oh, broke my knee. All right, no, enough of this bonfire. We've got the drive going here. We've gone through bands, and what I notice off the bat is we do have some target bands coming across. Mystic, Cats Black. They don't want to deal with that pesky Sutek Kane. It does get taken off the board. And now they have the blue side, and Jarvan, phenomenal B1 pick of current meta.
Yeah, Jarvan's very good as well. They also banned out the Ashe, so two champions that they just had enough of. So annoying to have to deal with, but the immediate response from Hydra looking like it's gonna be at Gwen. Now it is only hovered. But Gwen, we didn't get to see it in its full strength that last game. I will hammer home one of the strongest top laners just at all times. Just super good at being able to push out tons of damage and side lane. So I would not mind this pick at all. But yeah, I'm gonna agree with you, Jarvan. Just a very strong, very annoying champion to have to go into. Ah,
Wow, dude, are you bored right now by the teams? That's sick, dude.
I'm tired, man. But
I'm tired.
these
Of
teams are-
I'm Slayer.
It seems how. Now I'm gonna try to walk off, but I'm sitting down, so I can't really do that.
I will say I want to get out of the way. You know, Bonfire alluded to it in the first game that some of our players in the Diamond League have some intriguing names. We do have a starter coming back for the Mystic Cats Black roster. We're gonna be referring to him as LH.
Yes.
I'm just warning.
You
I'm
will
warning
soon
everyone.
see why.
We're warning you now. We're getting that out of the way. But ID Hydra on the red side. They're going to go with the Rakan pairing. So it's still playmaking for, you know, Death Instinct there. But one that usually does not KS Pentas.
One would hope. One would hope. Getting away from the Pike, always going to be happy with that. Zaya's going to split up the lovers. Went over to the Mystic Cat Black side. There's some fun little interactions through League of Legends when they're on different sides of the different teams, so it'll be fun to hear. But yeah, I think Zaya's a great pick. One of the strongest picks right now, just because of the safety that it provides, and the feather pullback's really great for kiting as well. And the Seraphine, so they're going back to that well. Didn't feel like the Seraphine did that much, but if we looked at the damage charts, actually out-damaged the Aurelian Soul. So maybe he did do a lot, and I'm just blind.
And I like it more with already because of the Jarvan. I mean, if you want to hit big encores, you trap everybody in a hole. That's what Jarvan does, right? I mean, you can just line them up easily. And you still have the flexibility of being able to send it support, where I think it's more effective in the mid lane. Swain is going to be locked in. That was banned away in game number 1 by Mystic Cats Black, so that's a pickup that you can expect Hotline to feel comfortable on. I got to give credit to him. He's playing some more niche mid laners compared to what the meta is serving up.
Yeah, it's fun. It feels like this ID Hydra squad really likes to enjoy themselves, have some fun with it, which is always nice to see. The Fiora ban is going to come out. One of the only good top laners that goes into Gwen. There's a couple. Fiora is definitely one of them with the poke and the trading. On the other side of things, the Tryndamere being banned out as well. And I'm going to predict it now. Big brain, Olaf. It's going to be an Olaf last ban. Although a bit interesting because that's a Gwen picked up already. Do they think it's a Gwen jungle, you think?
Yeah, they might be actually thinking that. So, Sutek plays the Kane. Gwen has actually been a lot more prevalent in that top lane meta. Tryndamere recently got a buff, and look at the big brain bonfire down there. The Olaf ban does come across, but now it's time to see who's calling who's real bluff here. This R4 pick could outline a lot. ID Hydra still have the counter if they want to give it over towards their top laner here instead, but yeah, it's going to be really intriguing because They're really betting on the fact that that is not a top lane Gwen like Illusion played, or not, excuse me, Illusion had it in last game. Valter will be playing. Zeri, though, likely to lock in. I swear, Bonfire, you try and nerf her. She just creeps back into the meta without any changes happening. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it just feels like Zeri is impossible to deal with. So incredibly annoying in all facets, and one of the best hyperscaling AD carries in the game. And so I love that pick. Does well with the Rakan as well. It's just safety, it's safety to have a safe Zeri hands holding you up when need be. And again, ID Hydra, it's a fun squad. It's an interesting squad. It's well put together composition. We said that about Mystic Cats last game, and obviously it did not work out. And again, I think we're going to have a bit of the same issue as we did in the last game with Mystic Cats, at least in my eyes. A bit of a damage problem. It was last game, it was only on the Ezreal, the Seraphine, and the Gwen, and it really didn't feel like they had enough damage at any points in time. This game, you got a Gnar, I guess, does some damage. A Seraphine didn't do a ton of damage, but does some damage. And a Xayah, this Orianna would definitely help out with that damage problem. And suddenly, a lot better about this Mystic Cat squad.
Wombo alert. That is a Wombo alert. Hello. Mega Gnar throwing people into Cataclysm, all that terrain messing things up. Encore. You've got the ball. You can command Shockwave from remote access with the Gnar and the J4. Xayah plays beautifully in team fights with Featherstorm. I respect it. Mystic Cats Black, they're saying we are going to try and beat you in those fights that we lost so hard last game. Xinjiao locked in there at the turn 5. Doesn't mean the Gwen is going top lane, though, towards Valter, who is now swapping what his lane matchup looked like last game.
Yeah, it's going to be the Gnar versus the Gwen, and I do think that this is actually one of the better picks into a Gwen. You have that ranged advantage. If Gwen ever tries to hop on top of you, you can just hop away. You have good kiting with the slow on your boomerang, and then when you're Mega Gnar, you can stun up the Gwen. She just can't really immune a lot of your stuff, and so I do like this Gnar pick. The Xin Zhao is interesting. It's been a while since I've casted a Xin Zhao game. I think kind of falls off a cliff a little bit, but in terms of 1v1s and early skirmishes, 2v2s, 3v3s, there is nigh a better jungler than you want. So it'll be interesting to see. And I think that, it's almost the perfect champion for Sutek, because you want somebody to be skirmishing early. I think Sutek does not mind being that person.
Look out for how pesky Crescent Guard can be with this Xin Zhao against because there's so much range damage. I'm curious to actually see the interaction between a lot of Orianna's abilities and Xin Zhao, because the ball, like, I believe if the ball is inside the Crescent Guard, she can get the damage out. It doesn't get blocked by the Crescent Guard. I think it's projectiles coming out to in. So we'll see how that interaction works out. But still, all those feathers are getting knocked down when Crescent Guard's going, if this Xayah is outside the range. Encore, I don't know what that interaction looks like coming from outside in. It could be a pretty big counter, a pretty big Giga Brain pick, especially for a jungler who we saw last game. Bonfire is all about just being in the middle of enemy teams and being just a nuisance. Crescent Guard could be huge.
Yeah, and I think Crescent Guard is very good when you're going against a Jarvan and a Gnar, able to kind of split them up. You also talk about the Zinsec sometimes, being able to hop on the backline and using Crescent Guard to push in the Xayah, the Seraphine, and the Orianna. There are some skill-expressive ways to play Xin Zhao, so it'd be interesting to see how they make use of that. And, one pick that I'm definitely keeping an eye on as well is that Swain. Just standing in the middle of everybody and constantly, walking around, pushing out damage, healing up. Very, very difficult to deal with them without CC and without some disengage options. And so once this Swain pops the ultimate, interesting to see how they play around it. But honestly, I'm just ready to get into game and see how these teams battle it out, duke it out.
Gonna be a lot of skirmishing. We'll see if ID Hydra can continue that early game pressure they succeeded so well with, as they eye a 3-0 perfect start to the season. But do Mystic Cats Black have anything to say about it as they're trying to push themselves over 500? It's litmus testing early, folks, figuring out who's the real bad dogs of the Blue Otter Diamond League. And we'll get on Summer's Rift to figure out if we're out of here quickly so you all can go enjoy your Saturday nights, or if you're stuck with me and Bonfire for longer. Stick through the intermission to find right out. Getting swept in a series, whack. Not winning on blue side, whack. Bonfires casting, not whack. That's all
Thanks,
I
man.
have.
I was gonna roast you because I was like, how long were you thinking about that before this game started? But since you were nice about it, I'll say I actually think that was pretty good execution.
No, that was stupid. I'm just trying to be funny. I don't
It
really know.
was,
I'm in a little
you
funny
know,
mood today. You know,
it
it's
was you're a little goofy today. It's kind of weird because I'm
goofy.
usually the funny one. I'm usually the funny one.
Whoever told you were funny?
Funny looking.
There you go. You know what's funny though? We do keep making these funny jokes, or like I keep doing these funny like cold opens, thinking I'm on SNL or something. These are funny starts from the teams. I mean, Cornstar and Epic Fail Guy are just chilling. And look at this. It's a concert for Death
Yeah,
Instinct.
Minions have
Go
I
spawned.
crazy,
kind of
Seraphine.
I kind of like how they're also lining up with their counterparts. They're not oh no, Cusco's. How could you? I kind of like how they are they're recognizing, this is the person I'm going to be staring at for the rest of the game. I might as well have some fun with it. Oh man, it's LH, just kind of,
LH.
we call him Shen maybe. I don't know. It's an uncomfortable name to look at, as you are all getting to see in live in person. If you're gonna name yourself, by the way, please don't name yourself something like that. It's just very uncomfortable.
I mean, we tried to warn him, right? So
It's true. It's true. We did our due diligence.
it is a substitute though. So LH is the original top laner listed on this Mystic Cats Black roster. And Gnar with a cold start. Intriguing nonetheless. Makes a bit of sense though. I feel like Gnar, I mean, yeah, getting kills in lane is nice, but you are really just a team fight CC bot. So I don't hate just sacking the lane for farm and playing for those later fights.
I also don't think you're really going to win many 1v1s into a Gwen. And so good recognition of where your strength lies. I think also with the ranged advantage, you're going to probably, farm pretty well. So I think it makes sense. It does mean that I don't expect to see this Jarvan top that often. I think helping out this Gnar is probably not the top of Illusion's list. Getting Flesh and Cornstar ahead is definitely much more important. So it'll be interesting to see as
Oh,
Sutek doing what Sutek does best.
I,
Going into places they're not allowed to be in.
I also just clocked the fact that Scary is out at jungle and it's Illusion going back to jungle, but he's having a flash. That's a really good Swain Eye
Might
across
die.
the map. The Conqueror, he canceled an auto bonfire and it's gonna save Illusion. And topside, LH is back on the rift and he's got first blood.
That is very, very sad for Sutek. There's a potential opportunity to get the kill, but you don't get the kill, and LH gets the first blood. Disaster. We didn't see that one in the top side, but it's just brooder for Valter early on this Gwen, going into a Cole, losing that one out, and Sutek not getting the kill. And so already Mystic Cats Black finding themselves in a good position. Now, this game is far from over, and actually, if you look at the gold difference, it's not as much as you would expect from a first blood. I think you usually expect like a 500 to 600 gold difference. It's actually even, but it is still a good place for Mystic Cats Black to be in.
Yeah, really good spot, and they needed it desperately because that game one was all up ID Hydra, basically the entire game. And to get that lead up against the Gwen, if you are Valter, I mean, Gwen certainly scales well, but can be really, really, I don't want to call useless, but difficult to navigate in the mid game if you're behind coming out of it. And it's also difficult to play if you don't get the blue buff steal. Epic Fail Guy appreciating that leash courtesy of Mystic Cats Black and Death Instinct. That's the slipperiness of this
Whoa,
recon.
whoa,
Zeri,
whoa.
not as slippery. Should have gone over the wall there. Has to flash. Exhaust coming on top. And the bait is perfect. Illusion dives too far and falls for it. Hotline now. With that swing, the ghost pulling. Does he have the claw pullback? He does. And the team's there to support them. The knockups, the damage. It's too much for Fresh. He's stinky and serving on the gray screen. Sutek, though, might give a trade over the Ignite for Cusco's poison. Does come across. But it's ID Hydra clapping back early.
Yeah, it's a 2-for-1. Felt like there were some moments where people could have potentially been punished right there. Epic Fail Guy kind of playing in the middle of Nowheresville. But Illusion just oversteps, does not stick to his team. Gets spit out, chewed up, and destroyed. Flesh gets chased down and ends up being a 2-for-1. And ID Hydra grab themselves the lead. And so Mystic Cats back into an uncomfortable position that they've played from quite a lot in this series. They are behind once again.
But not by much. It's just a bit of gold here. And they do have that scaling team fight comp that they are going for here. So as long as you're not really sacking huge leads to these Swain lanes or something else, you're feeling somewhat comfortable. Vision of Empire able to claim a stack there. It's the unsung part of Swain Bonfire, the fact that those W or those E's, those little eyeballs you can throw out, give him those feather stacks that just make him so unkillable later in the game. The pesky Swain.
Yeah, they do damage. Obviously, they slow. They also give the stacks. And so that is why Swain is not a bad scaling champion by any means. Doesn't do as much damage as some other mid laners, but good CC, good tankiness. Kind of reminds me of Galio sometimes. This game, they're going to need this Swain to do some tankiness. They don't really have a pure tank on that squad, and both teams kind of sniffing out this first dragon. We might have another fight already. Flash!
There's the knock up from Death Instinct, but he doesn't have the damage as the lowly support. Illusion's going for a spy steal, and he will pick up the dragon and get set Sutek for a consolation prize. This game is back and forth, but one big thing, Mystic Cats Black are not falling to the broom of a sweep.
Yeah, really, really good. Well played right there. Illusion just waiting for the team, and really just important as in the top side. Bit of a stat check between these two. I think LS recognizing, or LH recognizing that with the wave there, it's just too difficult to throw the boulder. And Walter's actually going to also run down and get the plant, and so a very, very good trade for the Gwen.
Yeah, it does have a CS lead, despite the fact that the ranged Gnar, little mini Gnar, can be really pesky to deal with. Sheen also picked up for LH here. Just makes him very, very powerful in this range form, but you obviously have to zone here. And that Health Edge you talked about, just pushing him right off the wave.
Yeah, it is. It's difficult for LH when once you use Mega Gnar. I think you recognize that it's going to be a while before you are at your strongest again. And yeah, the poke is there, but with the Cole, not a lot of damage. Glenn is immune, is able to keep themselves feeling safe, feeling healthy. And then the top side, it is a bit of an interesting fight. As good job going back in right there, but it is just going to be some trading. And between these teams, only 100 to 200 gold separates them right now.
Sutek is completely spot out. He thinks he's so sneaky, but he actually walked by that pink ward, and Illusion trying to punish it. Flash for a flash. Sutek dodging the knockup. Valter has no flash on the, no ghost as well, and no ultimate, but the turn fight, there's a Demonic Ascension. Look out for Hotline doing so much damage and healing, but it's fresh to actually find the first kill. LH gets the trade, but this Swain is just so hard to knock down and does so much damage with the flock. Hotline even looking for more onto Fresh, but won't advance too far out of his britches. Hotline, though, in another spot to carry in game number 2 now.
Yeah, but it ended up being, I believe, a 2-for-1. Sutek falls, so does Walter, and so while Hotline did a good job right there, it is Flesh feeling very good right now. 2-1 and 2 earlier on, did throw that first kill, but is doing a great job on this Orianna, and if you haven't played against an Orianna or as Orianna in a while, it's strong. It is strong. The damage can really sneak up on you. And it'll be interesting to see where Flesh takes this champion. There's a lot of different ways that you could do so. No Mejai's yet, but it could still be in the cards. It looks like it's going to be building towards a potential either a Leandri's or a Ludens.
Very much likely, I would say Ludens. Leandri's not too useful on Orianna's kit in my mind. And also, there's not too many big tanks, right? You've got a couple of bruisers, one of them looking to jump onto Cusco's poison. Good root pullback on Hotline Swain here. But Cusco's poison, that movement speed, really good, and Sutek had no angle to jump on, so nothing to come of it.
Yeah, they just didn't have enough CC or damage. Again, that's the issue with this Swain is good trade again. LH showing the strength in this Gnar, but Mega Gnar's about to run out, and yeah, Valter feels comfortable. Yeah, I mean, that didn't have the damage on the Mega Gnar. It's easy peasy.
Gwen moment. Now Mystic Cats Black getting a little desperate. They want to pick up this Rift Herald, even though they lost their top laner. And with Sutek only bot side, this will be a pretty decent answer. Still, though, that could really sway the top lane dynamic if Valter's able to pick up that kill.
they're able to get that Rift Herald down. Here's the thing, when you take a Rift Herald but you roam your bot lane over, the question is how much is the bot lane able to get on the other side of things? Right now, Epic Fail, able to get 1 plate, not 2. So all in all, positive trade for the Mystic Cats. They get the Rift Herald gold, and they're most likely going to be able to get 2 plates worth of gold, assuming they drop it correctly. And so Epic Cats, or Epic Fail guy, did a good job of trying to even up that gold, but still a positive play with that Rift Herald. But the gold continues to pendulum swing back and forth. Neither team has a confident lead yet. Both teams just consistently jostling for control.
Yeah, Wookie, if I could look at the gold here, I'm actually curious based off plating. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, plating guys, it's sneaky gold. An Epic Fail guy has an 1,000 gold lead over his lane counterpart, Cornstar. Zeri is one of the few AD carries that can go toe for toe with Xayah throughout most of the game here. Epic Fail guy, I mean, he quietly had a pretty good Ashe game. It drew off his kiting, and if you're good at kiting on Ashe, boy, do I have a champion for you with Zeri.
Yeah, Zeri can be a huge issue, and it just doesn't really feel like Mystic Cats have placed enough emphasis on shutting down this Zeri. And so Epic Fail guy is in a strong position to be a huge issue this game. But as of now, has not really been a part of many fights. 1 kill, 1 assist. It's been other parts of the map have seen a lot more action, top and mid thoroughly, as Sutek might be walking into a bit of a trap here, but doesn't look like Cusco's wants that.
Cusco, the poison for Cusco. He does not want to be poisoned trying to walk into that river. You knew I had to make that reference with the show.
I did. I was waiting for it. It's a good movement.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. And a good move is dropping this wrist round in response to the dragon, but on cue, Cusco's poison. Good turn Encore, but Online's the one that wants to be in the action here. Pops the Demonic Ascension. He's not getting the healing he wants. There's the double charm coming across from Death Instinct. The lightning crash. It pops everybody. The Swain is gone in an instant as well. Or excuse me, the Orianna. I'm switching mid laners. ID Hydra are switching the level of the game right now off that play.
Yeah, beautiful right there. And with that Rift Herald, I think they all wanted to get some of that gold plating, but only one member gets it because they got pushed off. And so, even with the Rift Herald that we had talked about, does not get as much as they might have wanted. Beautiful play right there. Hotline just flashes back, goes back in with the double charm, and ID Hydra, you said it in the last game, looking like a playoff team fighting against a hopeful. And this game providing to be a lot of that. It's the resilience that ID Hydra has. One of the best mid games I think we've seen in this league.
Yeah, they seem to play just better as a unit when sometimes they fall short as their parts separate in those early game stages, and they've situated themselves well. Valter has quietly also gotten himself a bounty now, a pretty sizable lead. You can see CS advantages in every lane except mid lane, but it's a 2-piece discrepancy. Just another unsung way to keep yourself in the game, right? The kills can be close, but plating, minions, that's the real way that you give yourselves leads when you need them going into mid game.
Yeah, they remind me almost of a Damwon Kia type of play, right? They're still a Korean team. They still scale up well. They're still always going to be getting their CS numbers up and playing as a squad when they have to. And then you have really good invades with Sutek and Hotline. Just kind of play really well together. So very Damwon Kia-esque, I think, is a good compliment to give out. Damwon Kia won a World's Championship that way. Interesting to see if ID Hydra can do something similar.
Yeah, they won one, and they're still competing for many more. Every year they seem to have a shot at the playoff stage. I like the Worlds references because we're not far from Worlds. And this is my PSA to all of North America to stop hating on NA before we even suck. You can hate on us once we suck, but you got to back the boys before it happens, right?
It's true. It is true. I think also, classic bonfire tangent, if we're just going to chat about Worlds a little bit. Talking about NA, I think if I had to rank the NA teams with the best chance at doing something internationally, would have to put Team Liquid up there with the rest of them. Sometimes this Flush is able to dodge out. Well, I'm just saying, I think that it's less about Team Liquid being up there and more about that I think Cloud9 has continuously run back their same strategy of play for the last, which is domestically fantastic, for the last however many years, and it just always kind of falls flat. So I'd like to see something different.
Ooh, and there's the same. Yeah, same Sutek play though, right? You're talking about similar
Yeah.
things coming across. Sutek really good at just finding these picks and starting to really pull himself away. I mean, he's in a new jungle matchup, right? You feel like it's going to be closer because Illusion is actually the jungler listed for Mystic Cats Black, but struggling to keep up with Sutek. Trying to go for that best jungler of the Diamond League award.
Is there an award for that? That's kind of fun.
I mean,
We'll,
like,
we'll make it
we
up.
could give one. I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Regardless.
That's actually we gotta talk to the league owners about that. We could do a best in every position. Maybe we could do a pro team, you know, all pro team. It'd be fun. Thinking on the fly here.
Surely our producer isn't a production admin, and surely the other production admin at BOL isn't in the Twitch chat right now. Surely.
All right, this is my cry, my plea. You know, I think this would be a fun thing that we can do. I'm kind of thinking on the fly here. You know, as the game enters a bit of a lull state. I got to do my job first, I suppose, and cast this game before I worry about potential end of season awards.
Oh no.
As
Deja
oh
vu.
boy.
Oh, okay. The W from Sutek doesn't land, so Cusco's poison can stay safe. But this is once again the problem with Seraphine's. Is he's just so squishy. And if Encore isn't up, and he especially doesn't have the gold that a support Seraphine does, it's a really easy target.
Yeah, kind of reminds me of Lux. You know, when you have a Lux support or a Lux mid, I always say, it's how much damage can you put out until you die? Because you're gonna die at some point. Even if you have the best front line in the world, Lux is just so immobile. And Seraphine is cut from the same cloth. And so we'll have to see if how much Cusco's can do until they are put 6 feet under. But so far, it hasn't done that bad. 1-1-1. And if you can get a big ultimate, a big encore off, you're always very happy about that. As 12 seconds to the dragon. It'd be interesting to see how this fight goes along. And I think Illusion might have snuck under the radar there. Getting back over. Stealing some camps.
Now has to get back out, but could set himself up to jump forward here if he'd like to. And that's the thing, right? You got to give credit to ID Hydra. We talked about how their mid game is really stellar. But they're still the Wombo for Mystic Cats Black, and if they can just chain everything together, it doesn't really matter how behind they are. If those ults come together at the same time, I don't think any comp is surviving it.
Yeah, it is true. The Rift Herald going to be dropped in the mid lane. Does give River control over to the side of ID Hydra. Herald gets a charge as well, so happy days. Now the question is, does Mystic Cats want to go for this? They're teleporting in. It looks like they want to. We could have a huge 5v5.
But LH doesn't have Mega Gnar. The Encore goes off already. They're going for Epic Fail Guy, but he goes right over the wall, glides out of it. The Wombo's been avoided, and now Valter is getting a freebie onto the backline. Sure, they do finally lose Fail Guy, and wow, the damage coming across from that Gnar makes it close, but he finally falls. Illusion, the only one left, and Hotline is still ascending demonically with that ultimate. Has Valter, the solo lane, stand up for ID Hydra.
Beautiful play right there. It was a whole bunch of everybody, wasn't it, Slayer? Group effort. It was a group project, and they all get A's from that one. Epic Fail Guy did end up falling, and it got a little dicey. Ended up being a 3 for 4, but that's still a numbers advantage. Now, I will say, I believe the dragon got taken by Mystic Cats. Maybe. I'm, like, looking at the dragons right now. Still, very, very well played from ID Hydra. They get the numbers advantage, and, you know, we talk about this gold lead quite a lot. They have it once again. 2,000, but they are in the lead, and it feels like once they get that gold lead, it's just so difficult to slow them down.
It can be, and it also is difficult when if you're Mystic Cats Black, you're just not lining up those ultimates, right? Bonfire is the first real 5v5 we saw, and you saw that Cusco's Poison had to use Encore early. Fresh didn't even get Command Shockwave out, still is holding onto that. I don't think there was a Cataclysm either from Illusion. You draft for these ultimate chains, you can't expect to win fights without them.
Yeah, the Cataclysm was used to kill the Zeri in the back line, but
there's no Mega
I mean, yeah, exactly. No, there was Mega Gnar. There was a Mega Gnar ultimate. I think it was just
not at the
so
time
crazy.
It needed. Not at the time.
Yeah, and that's
needed, right.
That's what you're going for, right? I'm being a little bit annoying, but I think I get where you're coming from, which is it's not all grouping together, right? It's great that you're getting your ultimates off, you're killing members, sure, but you're always going to lose the fights if you're focusing on 1v1v1v1v1s instead of a big 5v5, and that's kind of exactly what happened tried to collapse onto somebody, but without chaining your ultimates off, the Zeri was able to fly away and still be a huge issue.
And those split fights is kind of exactly what ID Hydra want. They're trying to disrupt this Wombo. You've got Rakan, who's always pesky. Those charms, those knockups can cause a lot of desync. Gwen jumping on back lines, maybe even jumping on to LH here, but hello, Illusion shows up to the party. Falter's so low, that's a huge shutdown to find with Baron already up.
That is a massive shutdown. That's huge to find. Tower gonna fall as well behind it. I mean, that is potentially game-saving right there. It evens the gold back up, gets you a tower, gets you some tempo across the map. Just beautifully, beautifully played right there. And get some gold in the pockets of your Gnar. I remember saying Gnar might not be the main target, but it could be as Baron. There's no way they sneak this, is there? The resets did come up from Mystic Cats. Now they have vision of it. They're coming over.
They have teleport advantage because there's no TP on Hotline here. Fresh trying to get the flank here. Can they finally land up the Wombo's Cornstar? Big feather pullback. Lightning Crash coming across though. Epic fail guy getting a ton of damage with the 3-man encore will disrupt the chase down. Fresh is able to get away. Illusion looking to front line. Flag and Drag won't get on Epic fail guy. That's a huge double pullback from Hotline trying to lock up these priority members. And ID Hydra turn another big fight. These guys are just so damn resilient.
Yeah. Like flex tape, they always come back. Hashtag not sponsored. Beautifully played right there. ID Hydra, always on the back foot, but never out of it. And Epic Fail Guy has just been so impressive on the AD carries. In the first game, it was the whole Sutek show, but the Ashe kind of went under the radar, very important. This game, the Zeri, having a bit more time to skill express and show the damage that they can do. They get the kills, they get the Baron. Remember how I had said that the gold lead had started to swing back? Mystic Cats, maybe we're still back in this game. That is a defining blow from ID Hydra right there.
And a big 2-item power spike coming across here for Hotline as well.
That rallies along with all of the slows and the burn that Swain can bring. It's going to become a problem. I distinctly remember so many Swain games I've cast. If you feed a Swain, how the hell do you expect to kill him? Especially with not a ton of sustainable damage. It's really a bursty comp coming across from Mystic Cats Black. If they can't blow up Hotline with their real first gut punch, they don't have an uppercut or a left hand, left jab, left. Everything's out the tank, and he'll turn it on you.
Yeah, and it becomes difficult. Death Instinct also kind of quietly going under the radar on this Rakan. Has done quite a lot. That's good damage already onto Cuscos. Cusco's poison. It's just not easy to get into this. And we talked about that split fight. Here's Volter splitting it up again. Illusion, that's your jungler. The only smite on your team, and Volter has just pushed them back. No dragon able to be taken. Not a huge priority dragon by any means, but still, you want to try to stack them up as best you can.
Oh, look at this. 80 carry 1v1. That's Ghost. Lightning crashes. Cornstar didn't have a chance. There's the Feather Storm, but it's too easy. Sliding over the wall for the kill cam. Epic Fail Guy tells this Rift who's the real 80 carry here.
Yeah, Tony Hawk, pro skater style. His flash gets slowed up. Good flash right there to stay away. But again, these are just defensive flashes. Double nub, never move. So difficult. They force the Gnar off the top lane, and so they have to back up as the Gnar comes back mid. But another kill, more gold. ID Hydra with the Baron buff that they had taken previously. I'd really done a lot with it. Now they're going to start making moves.
Man, Shockwave is just all alone. There's nothing to follow it up. And ID Hydra, you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. There's no hotline left to call if you are Mystic Cats Black. They are losing everything across the map.
Yeah, they are just getting decimated. These never moves are unbelievable. So difficult to keep yourself alive when the Swain is constantly bringing you in for a bear hug. And sure, you might look at Swain as a champion and say, you know what, he looks cuddly, he looks friendly, I want a bear hug. But let me tell you what, if Swain is not friendly with you, that bear hug will be fatal. And it is looking to be so. And so, ID Hydra, I think I looking at Swain, you know, he's not an unattractive man. I would not mind a hug from him. I will say that. I will say that.
Out of all the league champions to pick, look like a huggingly and cuddly, I think Swain's gotta rank towards the bottom. I mean, man, there's a lot of ugly-looking champions. Maybe middle tier. I'll give you that.
Yeah. We'll go C tier. Maybe this is a fun tier list to make. Is how much would you want to give them? How much would you want to hug from them? I think Rammus has to be F tier. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, any BO Blue Honor Diamond League players, my Discord's Slayercast if you want to make a tier list of most huggable champions.
That'd be fun. I would participate in that. I think, as we have some fun with this potential list, Zach's got to be up there. All blob,
Zach?
you don't think Zach kind of squishy? Like, you ever make like slime? I feel like it would be like that.
Dude, that's like gross. Let me just get stuck on you.
I guess that's true. Yeah, there's the concern, and Zach does pull you in, so I guess it is it is a sticky champion. All right. I see your point. That maybe wouldn't be enjoyable.
I know what number 1 is.
What's that?
Tibbers.
Ari, Evelyn. Tibbers. Tibbers is scary though. It's on fire.
Cuddly bear.
On
cuddly
fire.
bear.
That bear is on fire.
He's in there though.
I don't know, man. Yeah, but again, you're ignoring the on fire part of it.
Listen, I was molded in fire. I'm a redhead. All right, I do not fear fire. I mold
Is
fire.
that how it works? Is that where you like? Is it like Elsa, where you like a normal like blonde kid, and then you like were on fire when you were younger, and you turned red?
Yeah. Yes, I was a blonde kid, and then my mother threw me into an oven and lit me on fire, and I came out a redhead with a full beard.
Redhead lore, ginger lore.
Ginger lore. I tweeted out, guys. I told you get tangents from us, so I mean, I'm just making my tweet make sense here. I mean, there hasn't been too much happening. I will say Mystic Cats Black have done a decent job, sort of anti-sieging, but they're being pushed back towards their base. And Baron, not too far away here. Soul secure for either one of these teams. And Hextech, Drake as well. There's a lot of neutral objectives coming up soon, and Mystic Cats, they can't even get out of their own base.
I don't think I would want to hug Baron. I think Baron is also low on that. I know it's not a champion, but I don't think I would want to hug Baron.
You can't get over this, man. You got a tier list. You got to rank everything you're seeing right now.
My ADHD just flying off the charts right now. Cannot focus on one thing. No, I mean, both of these teams, this is pretty stock standard. Just deny vision, deny parts of the map. LH is in a good position to potentially do something, but the rest of the team isn't there, and so yeah, it's a good ultimate, but what are you gonna do with it? Oh no.
There's the Cataclysm, but Hotline is not the target. He just doesn't take damage. Look at him on the front line. Valter on the other side. This needlework is just piercing the hearts of Mystic Cats Black. Hotline leading the charge on the other side. They'll lose their top laner, but they'll take a bunch more. Featherstorm having to come out from Cornstar to just keep him safe. They're diving inhibitor turrets. That's a missed knockup. Ooh, there's a bit of a window. Cornstar, don't turn it too hard. That's a big grouping of shutdowns. And an overextension from ID Hydra.
Yeah, they lose some members from that. Ends up being a 3 for 4. Still a numbers advantage for ID Hydra. Don't get it twisted. But yeah, overstep right there. Definitely didn't need to go that hard, potentially. I will say with no members up for at least another 7 seconds, it does feel like this should be an easy enough dragon to take. And yeah, you do give some gold over, especially to Cornstar, which is I think the biggest issue, the biggest concern. But you also get some gold, and at this point, I don't want to call the game, because believe me, there is still a way that ID Hydra can get back into this. But this Swain is 5-0-13, and this Zeri is 9-2-8. And that's the biggest concern, right? When you have a very fed singular member that is not as tanky, sure, there's a world where you take down that member and win a fight. Or when you have one member who's very tanky but not a lot of damage, sure, maybe you don't worry about the tank and you just try to kill the damage. When there is one member who is tanky and one member who is very fed damage-wise, it just gets really, really difficult.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't help that there's only one piece of anti-heal up against a comp that desperately needs it. Ooh, Cataclysm coming out.
No.
Illusion, he has to get out of it. Use it as a safety encore, also used defensively. These are supposed to be offensive ults, but there's the damage coming across. Huge Meganar ult from LH. Falter is on the back line though, and the Zeri, look at the kites. Epic fail guy is not failing anytime soon, and ID Hydra are gonna take a lot from it. Cornstar though, still alive. They can't kill off Hotline. LH and Cornstar way too low to contest everything. Do ID Hydra look for a Baron turn?
Yeah, they potentially could right now. They could also just shove out waves, try to get another tower off of this, but with the resets, it would be too difficult. So instead, they're going to focus on the Baron. Now, LH is still here, is going to get spotted out, and so they recognize where this Gnar is, a little boomerang, just to see where things are, as well as a control ward.
Gonna go for this.
A little
Ooh,
nervous
last
right
one's
here.
over.
Oh,
There's no way.
goodness.
Well, this
Oh,
is just
goodness.
crazy. He's forced
Oh,
out.
goodness.
Oh, it's 74 HP, but Epic Fail guy saves it. That got a little dicey. We had a steal last time we were on the air here, Bonfire, with Blue Water Diamond League. Not going to get it in game number 2.
Yeah, call me a crabs game, because that got a little dicey. That was a little scary right there. The Gnar had a potential way into stealing that Baron, but the timing just did not work out. And with Baron in the cards, dragging that up for another 3 minutes, the siege is on. Looking like I don't know. I'm trying to think of a historical army that sieged upon. I
Alamo?
can't really think of one.
Well,
Yeah,
the
looking
Alamo,
like the Alamo.
didn't they hold
They
down
got
the Alamo?
sieged on. Yeah, they got
Yeah.
sieged on. I guess, yeah, I can't really. My history. Oof.
So Mystic Cats Black are trying to turn their base into the Alamo, basically, is what we're
Yeah,
saying.
exactly. There we go. All right, we figured it out. A little bit of teamwork right there.
Casual history minor here, American history minor. No
Were you
flex.
actually in American history?
Hell yeah, I was.
How did I not know that?
I
was
don't,
a,
I don't know.
I was a religion minor, but there's not many religion references you can drop in casting, so kind
I
of not
don't-
useful.
I think you've made references to God already. That counts. Right?
Is it me saying goddamn?
No, I don't know. Well, somebody, Illusion's gonna be praying to somebody because he can't even get on the back line without getting chunked for 80% of his HP. And sieging is way easier with Baron. There's the blue base cracked open. That's a big mark to get. Some respect giving over to ID Hydra. They don't want to give up too much of a window for Mystic Cats Black back into this game. They're also just stalling out for Valter, who was doing Gwen things on the side lane.
Yeah, it's a picture-perfect siege right now. Just focusing on multiple different angles, and enemy team has nowhere to go.
Ooh, good recognition there from Death Instinct. No Meganar, ton of ultimates down. Could this be the end for ID Hydra? Could this be a 3-0? Cornstar hits the Feather Storm, but it's defensive vaulted. Gets another big licking of damage. LH is just a pesky little mini-Nar trying to get the trade, but the pesky Zanyas is going to save Hotline. The Meganar, though, ultimate comes out. It's a trade, but a trade for the base, a trade for the game and the series. ID Hydra look like one of the top dogs in BOL Diamond and are going to sweep out the competition.
ID Hydra. Remember that name, because you're going to be seeing a lot of them in the BOL Diamond League. Just a very difficult team to put down. Even when they're down gold, they're just never out. And their counter punch just too strong. Beautifully, beautifully played. And just a quick 2-0. They got places to be on this Saturday night. They got places to go, Slayer. Want to go out and party, maybe get some early sleep. Who knows? You know, that's on them to figure out. I will say it was a party in this game, as some good damage right there. Zeri, 29,000 damage, most damage in the game by far. Cornstar did as much as they could on the Zaya, but rest of the team looking like Judas at Last Supper.
There you
Just
go.
no help. Betrayed. Yeah, I've been cooking that one up. Yeah, and yeah, it was it was the ID Hydra squad that ended up winning this one out in 2-0 fashion.
So now ID Hydra moved to 3-0 in the season, and also because game score is going to matter for tiebreakers with these 8 teams in our league here. They're 6-1 in game score, so they've only dropped one game of League of Legends through 3 weeks. That is a certifiable top dog of whatever league you're talking about, and just really just an unrelenting win. And you talked about it during the broadcast too, during game 2, Bonfire. Kind of a shade of a potential championship team is resilience, and game 2 did not start off well.
Yeah, it really felt like they were on the wrong foot to start it off, and it was the same with game 1 as well. And at the end of the day, it was the ID Hydra squad that just found their footing first. And yeah, I mean, if you are this Black Hat squad, you kind of have to go back to the drawing board and figure out where your strengths were. Gnar, a lot of damage. Zaya, a lot of damage. Cornstar has to be more in the picture for these games. Really feels like a bright spot on this team. Flash just hasn't really found the champions that work out best. The Seraphine as well. I would I would maybe
Yeah.
retire that champion.
Yeah.
I think they have a read on the meta that's incorrect, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, they're just not strong enough to really justify especially in a comp that didn't have. This one had a little bit better front line, but I digress. Spawnfire, it's kind of closing up shop here. It's been another fun week, another fun Saturday. But I got to ask one final question here. Who you feeling about MVP for this week? There's two viable options in my mind.
I mean, yeah, it's either Sutek or it's Epic Fail Guy, I think is who you were thinking. As that
One of them.
okay.
I
Well,
was
okay.
thinking. I was thinking Hotline or Epic Failed guy. I mean, that.
Really? Not Sutek, even with that Kane game.
Yeah, the Aurelion Soul was popping off, especially on the stat sheet, and he goes 22 KDA in the second game. Epic Fail guy. I'm giving you the pick, man.
All right,
Do what you want with it.
I'll go Epic Fail Guy. I think the Ash kind of went underappreciated, but 19 assists is nothing to turn your nose at. In this game, I mean, what is that? 25 out of 30 KP? That's insane for an
Yeah.
80 carry to have. So, Epic Fail Guy, I'll tip my cap to you. You are my MVP. Sutek had a fantastic game one. Kind of didn't have as good of a Xin Zhao game. It's the only reason I'm not giving it to him. And then Hotline, look, anything you ask of Hotline, they'll do. I think that the Aurelion Soul game was great. The only issue was it just wasn't as flashy. And this game was fantastic. But I think, in my eyes, Epic Fail Guy 4, 5, 6. Because apparently the Epic Fail Guy, with no numbers was taken, is my MVP.
Yeah, two big hitters nonetheless coming across, and we got two kind of Titans. I know everybody, if you tuned in last week, you got a good look at Akuma Sabres. They were 2-0 coming in this week as well. Maybe they got their win. This week, we get to showcase one of the big dogs, 3-0 ID Hydra. Get to know them, folks, because I got a feeling they're going to be vying for that trophy in deep in our playoff run. That unfortunately ends the run of our broadcast this Saturday, though. Big shout out to my duo here, my lovely Bonfire coming across here. Always a pleasure to cast with him. We love Wookie, too. Finally getting to work with Wookie. It feels like forever that I got to see Wookie last time. Great to get on here and see his beautiful producing and observing. Big shout out to Blue Otter League, all the guys over there, Bully, Pop Tart, allowing us to come on here and do our thing every other week. You'll be in great hands next week. Very likely, Narco and Goferino, two buddies of ours, coming back on the broadcast. We'll be back here in 2 weeks. But for now, enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the many amateur leagues going on with their amazing tournaments displaying NA talent. And we'll see you guys next time when we see you.